My girlfriend left me for her rich coworker after I paid for her education and sacrificed everything for our future together. But she said, I never asked you to do that. The email landed in my inbox like a digital guillotine, sharp, unexpected, and utterly devastating. Subject line, moving on. From Sarah. My Sarah. Or, as it turned out, not so much my Sarah anymore. The first line, just 6 words, seared themselves onto my retinas. Alex, I can't do this anymore. Do it anymore? Our life? Our future? The dreams we'd painstakingly built over 7 long, hard years? It all started, or rather, the beginning of the end started, about 3 years before that email. Sarah, she was brilliant. Smart as a whip, ambitious, with this fire in her belly that I just adored. But she came from nothing, a tough background, no family money to speak of. Her dream was to go to a top-tier university, get a degree in finance, conquer Wall Street, or at least our city's equivalent. And I, besotted, idealistic, 20-something Alex, I wanted to help her make that dream a reality. I was working as a graphic designer back then, just starting out, not exactly rolling in it, but I was making a decent living. And every spare penny, every ounce of extra energy I had, it went into Sarah. Her tuition fees, her textbooks, her rent for that tiny shoebox apartment near campus. I worked overtime, took on freelance projects that had me burning the midnight oil until my eyes felt like sandpaper. I ate instant noodles so she could afford decent food. I wore the same pair of worn-out sneakers for 2 years so she could have a new laptop for her coursework. It wasn't a sacrifice, not to me. It was an investment in her, in us, in the future I was so certain we'd share. She was grateful, or so I thought. There were tearful thank yous, whispered promises of how, one day, she'd make it all up to me, how we'd have everything we ever dreamed of. And I believed her. God, I was such a fool. Such a blind, trusting fool. She graduated with honors, top of her class. And then, the golden ticket. An offer from Sterling and Finch, one of the biggest, most prestigious investment firms in the city. The salary they offered her, it was more than I made in a year. I was ecstatic for her. Proud. This was it, I thought. This was the start of our new life. The life we'd worked so hard for. But something changed in Sarah after she started at Sterling and Finch. It was subtle at first. The way she talked about her new colleagues, especially one of them, a guy named Ben Davenport, senior analyst. Young, rich, connected. Son of some old money family, apparently. He drove a Porsche. He wore tailored suits. He had a penthouse apartment overlooking the river. Everything I wasn't. Ben's so smart, Alex, she'd say, her eyes a little too bright. He's really taking me under his wing, showing me the ropes. Ben took the whole team out for drinks at that new rooftop bar, the one with the insane view. You should have seen it, Alex. Ben thinks I have real potential. He says I could be a partner one day. Ben. His name started to punctuate her sentences like a damn metronome. The late nights at the office started. Working on a big merger deal with Ben. The weekend retreats. Team building exercise, Ben's idea, up at his family's lake house. The expensive gifts that started appearing. A silk scarf. A pair of diamond earrings. Oh, Ben just picked them up for me on a whim. He's so generous. Generous. Right. The distance between us, it grew. Not just physically, though that was happening too, but emotionally. We were living in the same small apartment, the one I'd poured my heart and soul into making a home for us. But she was elsewhere. Her mind was in the glittering, high-stakes world of Sterling and Finch in Ben Davenport's orbit. And I, with my freelance graphic design projects and my worn-out sneakers, I didn't fit in that world. I tried, man. I really tried. I suggested date nights, romantic dinners, weekend getaways. But she was always too busy, too tired, too preoccupied. Alex, I have to focus on my career right now, she'd say, a new, almost impatient edge to her voice. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You understand, don't you? I tried to understand. I really did. But the gnawing suspicion, the sick feeling in the pit of my stomach, it just wouldn't go away. Then came the email. I can't do this anymore. I called her. Straight to voicemail. Texted her. No reply. I drove over to Sterling and Finch, my heart hammering against my ribs. The receptionist, a cool, blonde woman with eyes that could freeze hell over, she just looked at me with a mixture of pity and disdain. Ms. Carter is in a meeting. She left instructions not to be disturbed. Ms. Carter. Not Sarah. Not my Sarah. I waited. For hours. Pacing the sterile, marble lobby, feeling like a damn ghost. Finally, she emerged. Not alone. With him. Ben Davenport. His arm was around her waist. Possessive, proprietary. They were laughing, their heads close together. They didn't even see me at first. Then Sarah's eyes met mine. And the look on her face, it wasn't shame. It wasn't regret. It was annoyance. Like I was an unwelcome interruption to her fabulous new life. Alex, she said, her voice cool, distant. What are you doing here? Ben Davenport, he just smirked. That smug, arrogant, punchable smirk of a man who knows he's won. Having a bit of trouble letting go. Are we, old boy? He said, his voice dripping with condescension. Sarah, I said, my voice hoarse. Your email, what does it mean? She sighed, a theatrical, impatient sound. It means what it says, Alex. I'm moving on. We're over. Over. I stared at her, at this stranger wearing my Sarah's face. Just like that? 7 years, all that work, all that sacrifice, it just means nothing to you. Don't be so dramatic, Alex, she said, pulling away from Ben, though his arms still lingered possessively around her. We had some good times, sure, but we're different people now. I'm different. I want more than you can give me. More, I repeated, numbly. You mean more money? Is that what this is about? Him. I gestured towards Ben, who was now openly sneering at me. It's not just about the money, Alex, she said, though her eyes kept flicking towards Ben's expensive watch, his tailored suit. Ben understands me. He supports my ambitions. He sees my potential. You were always happy just plodding along. I need more than that. I deserve more than that. And what about everything I did for you? I finally choked out, the words like acid in my throat. The tuition? The rent? The years I worked my ass off so you could have this career? Does that mean nothing? She actually had the audacity to laugh. A short, sharp, cruel sound. Oh, Alex, don't be naive. That was a gift. You offered. I accepted. There were no strings attached. You can't hold that over my head now, just because I've outgrown you. Outgrown me. Like I was a pair of old shoes she'd discarded. Ben Davenport, he chose that moment to chime in, his voice like silk-covered steel. Look, Alex, old man. Sarah's made her choice. She's with me now. We're building a future together. A much brighter future than you could ever offer her. So why don't you just accept it? Move on. Find someone more on your level. More on my level. I wanted to hit him. I wanted to scream. I wanted to. I don't know. But I just stood there, frozen, as they turned, arm in arm, and walked away, their laughter echoing in the sterile, soulless lobby of Sterling and Finch, leaving me standing there, with the ruins of my life scattered around my feet. The days, the weeks, that followed, they were a blur. A black hole of pain, anger, and a soul-crushing humiliation. I moved out of our apartment, couldn't bear to be surrounded by her ghost, by the memories of what we'd had, or what I'd thought we'd had. Found a tiny, cheap studio on the other side of town. Sold most of my possessions, just to make ends meet. My freelance work, it dried up. I couldn't focus. Couldn't create. The fire in my belly, it had been extinguished. Replaced by a cold, hard knot of bitterness. And they, Sarah and Ben, they didn't just disappear from my life. Oh no. They made sure I knew how happy they were. How successful. How superior. There were the carefully curated social media posts. Sarah, draped in designer clothes, on Ben's arm at some charity gala. Sarah, sipping champagne on the balcony of Ben's penthouse apartment, the city lights twinkling behind them like a damn movie set. Sarah, on a private jet, on her way to some exotic vacation destination. Captions like, living the dream. So grateful for this incredible man by my side. Never knew life could be this good. Each post was a fresh stab, a deliberate twist of the knife. They knew I'd see them. They wanted me to see them. They wanted me to suffer. And the little, petty cruelties. Ben, accidentally bumping into me at my local coffee shop, making a loud, dismissive comment about my quaint little business. Sarah, forgetting to remove me from her email list for Sterling and Finch's glossy corporate newsletter. Each issue a fresh reminder of her glittering new life, her success, her betrayal. My friends, they tried to help. You need to get over her, Alex. She's not worth it, man. Plenty of other fish in the sea. Easy for them to say. They hadn't poured 7 years of their life, their heart, their soul, their every last penny, into someone who'd then just discard them like yesterday's garbage. The anger, it festered, became this dark, consuming thing. I started drinking too much, neglecting myself, my work. I was becoming a ghost of my former self. Then, one night, I was sitting alone in my crappy little studio, staring at another one of Sarah's smug Instagram posts, her and Ben, clinking champagne glasses on a yacht somewhere tropical. And something inside me just snapped. Not in a violent way, not in a self-destructive way, but in a cold, clear, calculating way. Enough. Enough of the pity party. Enough of the bitterness. Enough of letting them live rent-free in my head, gloating over my misery. They thought they'd won. They thought they'd broken me. They had no idea. I started small, pulled myself together, stopped drinking, started eating properly again, started working out, and I started thinking, planning. My graphic design skills, the ones Sarah had so casually dismissed as plodding along, they were still there, and they were sharp. I started looking into Ben Davenport, into Sterling and Finch, not in a crazy, stalkerish way, but in a professional way, as a research project. It's amazing what you can find when you know where to look, when you know how to connect the dots, when you're fueled by a righteous, all-consuming fury. Ben Davenport, golden boy, financial wizard, scion of old money? He wasn't as golden as he seemed. There were irregularities, whispers of shady deals, questionable investments, a few conveniently overlooked regulations. Nothing overtly illegal, not on the surface, but enough to raise eyebrows, enough to make people nervous. And Sterling and Finch, for all their prestige, for all their power, they had their vulnerabilities, their pressure points, their carefully concealed skeletons. I started building a dossier, meticulously, patiently, cross-referencing information, following digital breadcrumbs. It took months, months of late nights, fueled by black coffee and a burning desire for, not revenge, exactly, but for justice, for a reckoning. While I was doing that, I also started rebuilding my own life. My freelance business, took on new clients, poured all my energy, all my creativity into my work, and it started to pay off. My reputation grew. My income started to climb. I moved out of that crappy little studio into a decent apartment, started to feel like myself again. But the dossier, it was always there, growing, getting more detailed, more damning. The opportunity, when it came, it was almost poetic. Sterling and Finch were in the middle of a massive, high-stakes merger deal. A deal that would make them one of the biggest players on Wall Street. A deal that Ben Davenport was spearheading. His moment of triumph. His coronation as the king of the financial world. The deal was complex, fragile, dependent on a flawless due diligence process, on absolute confidence from all parties involved. And I had the information that could shatter that confidence, that could derail that deal, that could bring Ben Davenport's glittering career crashing down around his ears. I didn't go to the press. I didn't leak it on social media. That would be too messy, too obvious. No, I was more subtle than that. I used my graphic design skills, created a series of anonymous, highly professional-looking financial reports, market analyses, internal memos, all meticulously crafted, all based on the information I'd gathered, all designed to raise just enough questions, just enough doubts, just enough red flags to make the other side of the merger deal nervous. I didn't falsify anything, didn't break any laws. I just presented the information in a very specific way to very specific people, anonymously, of course, through encrypted email accounts, through untraceable channels. It was like planting a tiny seed of doubt, a seed that, I knew, would grow and fester and eventually poison the whole damn deal. And it worked. The merger, it stalled. Rumors started to fly. Whispers of financial irregularities, of undisclosed liabilities, of management incompetence. The other company, they got spooked, launched their own independent investigation. And what they found, well, it wasn't pretty. The deal collapsed. Spectacularly. Publicly. Humiliatingly. Sterling and Finch's stock plummeted. Their reputation was in tatters. And Ben Davenport? He was the scapegoat. The fall guy. The one whose ambition, whose recklessness, whose questionable ethics had brought the whole damn thing crashing down. He was fired. Publicly. Brutally. His golden career, over. His future, a smoldering ruin. And Sarah? When the news broke, when Ben's empire crumbled, when the money dried up, when the penthouse apartment and the private jets and the exotic vacations disappeared, she suddenly remembered my name. She tried to come crawling back, of course. The tearful phone calls. The desperate emails. I made a terrible mistake, Alex. I was a fool. I was blinded by him, by the money. But I love you. I've always loved you. Please, can we just talk? I let her talk. Let her grovel. Let her pour out her heart, her regrets, her desperate pleas for a second chance. And when she was finally finished, when she was just a sobbing, broken mess on the other end of the line, I said, very quietly, very calmly, "No, Sarah." "No?" she whispered, her voice incredulous. "No," I repeated. "You made your choice. A long time ago. You chose him. You chose the money. You chose the glittering, empty life he offered you. You chose it over me, over us, over 7 years of shared history, of shared dreams, of shared sacrifice. My sacrifice. But I love you, Alex," she wailed. "I realize that now. I was wrong. So wrong." "Maybe you do, Sarah," I said. "Or maybe you just love the idea of a safety net, of someone to pick up the pieces of the mess you made. But it's too late. That Alex, the one who would have done anything for you, the one who worked himself to the bone so you could have your dreams, he's gone. You killed him. You and Ben Davenport and your insatiable, destructive greed." I continued, my voice like ice now. "Remember what you told me, Sarah, that day in the lobby? That the money I put into your education, your career, it was a gift? That there were no strings attached? Well, guess what? My love, my loyalty, my future, those weren't gifts. Those had strings. And you cut them. You cut them all. So no, Sarah. We can't talk. We can't fix this. There's nothing left to fix. You made your bed. Now you get to lie in it. Alone. Just like you left me." I hung up. And for the first time in a long, long time, I felt light. Free. Like a massive weight had been lifted from my shoulders. It wasn't about revenge, not really. Not anymore. It was about justice. It was about reclaiming my life, my dignity, my self-respect. It was about showing them, showing myself, that I wasn't the naive, plodding fool they thought I was. The aftermath? Ben Davenport, last I heard, was facing a slew of lawsuits. His family's money, what was left of it, was tied up in legal fees. His reputation, non-existent. He was a pariah. A cautionary tale. Sarah? She disappeared. Moved out of the city, I think. Trying to start over somewhere else. Somewhere no one knew her name, her story. Maybe she'll find what she's looking for. Maybe she won't. Frankly, I don't care. Me? My little graphic design business, it's thriving. I've even taken on a couple of employees. I'm not rich, not by Wall Street standards. But I'm comfortable. I'm respected. I'm doing work I love, on my own terms. And I'm not alone anymore. Met someone. Her name's Olivia. She's a writer. Kind, funny, smart. And she sees me. Just me. Not my bank balance. Not my potential for more. Just Alex. And that, man, that's everything. Sometimes, late at night, when Olivia's asleep beside me, I think about Sarah. About Ben. About that whole damn ugly mess. And I don't feel anger anymore. I don't feel bitterness. I just feel a quiet sense of peace. Of closure. They thought they could break me. They thought they could discard me, dismiss me, laugh at me from their glittering, empty towers. But they were wrong. I'm still here. Still standing. Still building. And this time, I'm building on a foundation of truth. Of self-respect. Of a love that's real. That's honest. That's earned. And that, my friend, that's a masterpiece you can't put a price on. That's a future worth fighting for. That's a life worth living. And it's mine. All mine.